Well, we are here to discuss the Survivor Series and, of course, the big news in the closing seconds of the Survivor Series. There was Living Color with their brand new remastered version and of Cult of Personality, and out walks one Bill Phil himself, Phil Brooks, almost a decade removed from his WWE exit and returning to the WWE. And your initial reaction way to the return of CM Punk to WWE.
I don't, I haven't been online this entire day, so I don't know what the expectations were heading into this pay-per-view. I wasn't really online even during the pay-per-view itself. So I was completely shocked. I was not expecting it. I think, had read recent reports saying that this was not going to happen, and I pretty much just kind of accepted it. I didn't think the show needed it, to be honest. So it was not something I expected. So I was totally surprised.
Is this something that you look at? I mean, for the next, this is obviously going to be the talking point coming out of this show, and obviously this can go one of two ways. It can go the way that here is this guy that is coming back, and this is truly going to be the run to kind of solidify his legacy. And for those that are looking at this AEW run as a disappointment, this is that opportunity to have a major league run here in WWE for what should probably be the last full-time run of his career. The man is 45 years old now. And then there's going to be the others that once the freshness of this wears off, will there be those inevitable problems? It's a very different company than the one 10 years ago, and even the one several years ago. This is no longer Vince McMahon's company. You can also argue this is not Paul Levesque's company. Like, yes, he is the head creative force, but he is a cog in the wheel of TKO that is now running this, that is in control. And I'm certain that in time we will see kind of the machinations that led to this. But I don't think anyone, I think the percentages going into the show tab this return as low, but I think anyone can look at this as, if obviously he wanted to do it. And for the WWE, they were in a position where they could take it or leave it. I don't think they need CM Punk, but you're looking at a time when this Raw deal means a whole lot for this company to get this next television deal. And it could be not finalized till next summer once the NBA deals are set in place. And you're coming off a really fantastic number up against Monday Night Football this past Monday. And Punk is, if the idea is let's put every bullet in the chamber as we go into these negotiations, and listen, the guy is a massive star, a huge, compelling figure for us. And listen, if we can bring him in and he turns into an asset for us, well, even better. It just makes us look like here we are the company that can fully manage a CM Punk, as difficult as that might be to process given the long history between Punk and this company.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think strictly looking at it, even regardless of whether or not they're up for TV negotiation, which I don't even know how much that is relative to CM Punk's hiring. I think all they're simply looking for is, can we make money off of this guy? Can we generate, interest in our product by bringing this guy in? And all the concerns that I think you and I and every fan has discussed, I'm sure has been discussed even more thoroughly, by the people that are in charge of this multi-billion-dollar company. And despite all that, they feel that it's worthy to take a risk because they feel like the investment is worthwhile and that the return is worthwhile. We've kind of talked about his potential return to WWE like at length, and I think everything still applies. I think here he's a small fish in a big pond, and will likely be much, especially after recent events, handled much more, on a much shorter leash. So I don't think the same concerns may apply, but locker room morale, I think, would be one. So I'd be very curious to know what sort of internal discussions may be taking place, how much talent were made aware of it, and were talent even maybe at some points lied to about it? Do they feel, like they were tricked? But in the name of good business and maybe secret keeping, I mean, I think all of that can kind of be sort of like wiped away through those explanations.
I don't even need anyone to come out and state it, that I'm sure this one was kept to a very small circle of people. Like I would, like pure guessing, I would imagine like Punk showed up at the arena probably during this main event. I mean, it was probably their whole like just have him under lock and key and probably having a camera on him from the second he left his house to the walking into the Allstate Arena, and all of that will be used for production down the road. But I mean, listen, they treated him like coming in. He's an instant main eventer. Totally stole whatever thunder Randy Orton might have had for his return, because coming out of this show, Randy Orton's return was already secondary. Like 15 minutes after this guy returned.
It's true, but I mean, so what, right? Like in the end, you have this. To me, reminded me a whole lot of like that was all out, right? All not this All Out, but the other All Out where Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole both made their appearances at the same time. I mean, you already kind of got one surprise that maybe a lot of I mean, we were all expecting already in Randy, but to get the surprise on top of the surprise, I think only heightens the feeling we all have coming out of this show and our opinion on the product itself. If it was already at a high level, well, I think it's that much higher when you deliver a surprise on top of another surprise.
Yeah. And I mean, I would certainly put him on Monday's show, and I think that's going to be a massive show for the company. And I think it'll be just another example of CM Punk drawing a big number. And this will be a very, I mean, certainly I think if you're CM Punk and you're looking at 44% in this year's Hall of Fame ballot, like what do I need to do to make up that 16%? This year is going to determine that.
I'm sure that's exactly why he decided to come back. What are your personal feelings on CM Punk's return?
I think they are. See, I wouldn't have said that it was like there was a period where I would say when Punk had first left that there was so much reason to try and reconcile with CM Punk in 2014. There was such a demand, and this continued for years. And I think in time, once Punk talked about it more, when he came to AEW, and the fact that he spoke like this guy was concerned he was going to die in this company, that this was a experience for him that was, whether you feel that was a realistic outcome of his life being at risk. This guy had severe problems in this company that I think really messed him up. I mean, his words were, I was sick, and had to get away from wrestling and had to leave wrestling for 7.5 years because of getting this all out of his system. Now he has gone through AEW. I think it was, as much as the greatest critic of CM Punk can come at him, I do not doubt that this man has a tremendous desire to go out there, and I don't think he wants this last run to be his last chapter in professional wrestling. I think he still has an incredible passion for it. And if he's coming in with that headspace and the ability to divorce himself from all the stuff about getting fired on his wedding day and the whole lawsuit stuff, as much as, like all that stuff, that's if that guy can put that all as water under the bridge, I don't know how many people could do that, to be quite honest. But I mean, he's entering this and he knows what the deal is. But again, it is a very different company now. And perhaps that, like, I would be curious who were the key people negotiating with him here. And if you're looking at Paul Levesque and they have their history, I mean, on all we can judge on is those final minutes of the pay-per-view, and he made him feel like CM Punk is the biggest star on our roster. That's how he was presented.
Yeah, sure.
It's not like this guy was presented coming in and it's like, okay, you're gonna have to pay your dues to at least on night one. This guy was given, he was the star of the show easily.
Coming out of it, yeah. So, as far as like everything to do with the way he left the company 10 years ago, 10 plus years ago, however long it was at this point, I I get the sense like that stuff has maybe been forgiven, especially when those reports were out there of him actually going backstage to try to talk, to Levesque and other members of the WWE. There's also basically the basic sort of fact of this being Punk's only option to work in professional wrestling, being paid at the level that I think he's accustomed to, with the level of exposure that he's accustomed to. And when you only have one place to work, well, you're probably going to forgive a lot, maybe including a grudge from 10 years ago. A big grudge nonetheless, but still, it felt like maybe he had, as of like, those reports had already moved past that. Um, the audience perception of CM Punk, I think, continues to be a really interesting one. I mean, somebody's pointing out in the chat room that, I mean, a lot of his promos in AEW were about WWE. He spent the last 10 years talking about how miserable and how much he hates being in this company. Do you see any
Well,
audience?
welcome to professional wrestling, folks. Like, I mean, just circumstances change, and people are allowed to as well change their opinions. I mean,
Right.
listen, we are probably going to be looking at a CM Punk that will probably be booked in Saudi Arabia next year. I mean, there are like that's you know what the deal is coming in here, and there will be those that view him as a hypocrite. I also look at people are allowed to to flip flop on opinions over time and changes. I hope it's sincere, though. I hope he's not entering a system that is going to be destructive to him. And I could argue that this guy has a love for professional wrestling, but it also has, I mean, just look at the AEW run. Don't even talk about WWE. Like AEW, I think probably did a number on him mentally as well. And some of it brought on by himself. A lot of it probably brought on by himself.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I'm just more so speaking about like, audience perceptions. I mean, certainly we're in Chicago tonight, and that's going to be, the biggest possible babyface reaction you could have with the CM Punk. Do you see negative reactions being attached to him either in any sort of live setting or continuously through online discourse?
Yeah.
Or do we simply forget about everything and, hey, this is like the fresh new toy in the WWE toy box, and we can all get excited about these potential matchups? Does
the comeback is going to override a lot. He's going to come out, providing he's on the show Monday night. I think he comes out, he's going to cut an amazing speech, and he is going to probably just set the tone for this return. And you're going to have an audience that is going to treat this as, here is the prodigal son that has come home. Of course, you'll have people that are going to look at him negatively. I mean, that's to be expected, but is that going to be the overwhelming majority? I doubt it. It was interesting though, and just circling it and tying it in with Nick Houseman, who was on with Brandon Thurston and I this week, is that one of the things that Nick had spoken about was, from those that he had spoken to at WWE, this idea of WWE having this desire to focus on the younger stars in AEW, watch them kind of come up and then go for their young stars. And then when the WWE talent is starting to age out, letting those talents go, let those older talents go to AEW. And in this case, it's not just an older talent, but it's also a talent that has caused so much chaos that if you are a Tony Khan tonight, are you looking at this as, damn, they got him and this is a huge get for them? Or are you looking at it of, this is going to be great for them short term, jury's out long term? Maybe this will be way more trouble than it's worth. There's no way to know. You would think that this guy is going to have an understanding that this is it for me in a major league setting, that again, that I can make this amount of money with. But listen, this has been it's been both the biggest, I think the chip on CM Punk's shoulder has both benefited him and greatly hurt him in his career. And there's been both. And you can argue that overall it's done him better. Like, he would not be at this level without that. But at the same time, he has also cost himself in certain situations too.
I think it's impossible to tell the future with this man. This is probably one of the most unpredictable like top stars we've ever had in the industry. If you told me 3 months from now he'll be out of this company, like I none of us would be surprised. At the same time, I think the hope is always out there every time somebody has gone through what this guy has gone through, that his return would be different. I mean, we all thought his return back to AEW earlier this year would be entirely different, and yet you can argue it was even worse. The big difference, of course, is that this is a completely different system that, and again, this guy is going to be on a much shorter leash. I'm sure he's going to be on his best behavior. We also don't even know what sort of schedule he's going to be on.
This is all fresh. We don't know like length of a deal like this. For all we know, like this could be a short-term deal. It could be a long-term deal. It could like, let's see where this goes. You're right. Schedule wise, I mean, this is a guy that's had several major injuries over the last 2 years. Like, do you want him there every single week? Wrestling, no less. We're going to find out. But, for the night, like this is going to be the major story. And we'll look back on this in a year's time, and we'll look back at the CM Punk project. Was this a great pickup for them? And if not, is it going to be that detrimental to WWE either? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.